No, but he's ended up in a very restful, very pretty little part of Cambridge, even
That's
though
cool.
even though he had very mixed feelings about Cambridge and very mixed feelings about philosophy in
I think
general.
he had mixed feelings,
That's one way of
just
putting
in
it.
general.
Yeah, he could put it that way. But he did say he had a beautiful life at the end.
I just turned the call recorder on because it's so unbelievable, the discussion. So people could believe this.
I'm a great studier of philosophy because, and I think it should be taught at schools because
Go ahead.
Because it teaches people how to think.
Yeah, it does. Have you read what is it called? How Free Are You? It's a really short book by Ted Honaker about freedom and determinism. It's like less than 100 pages long.
No, I haven't actually, but
it's very easy to read. It's like, written for non-philosophers. It's a fantastic introduction to the determinism problem that really makes you question existence as a whole.
Oh my gosh!
I've been reading. I've been
painful.
I've been listening to a book from one of your fellow Vancouvians. It's Gabor Mate, Mate, and he was a doctor he still lives in Vancouver, but for about 10 years he was a doctor that helped people on the east side of Vancouver, which is a bit notorious. And he's done a number of books about addiction and why people do things that are not good for them. And I've been listening to one of his last books, and it's called In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, there's a lot of people talking about it here all the time.
It is a fantastic book.
Morten, before we run, I'm going to ask you one question. Maybe Jonathan can finish up with some tech question. But I do have something I want to ask you.
All right.
Something I'm working on. This is my third career. By the way, I spent a few years with the French Army. And they think differently. They definitely think different in French. I mean, even the music and the sound, you get used to it.
Everything is different.
Yeah. I like the food. I really enjoyed the food with the French. So anyway, driving on, my question though is, I'm a business guy. I was activated for the war at 10 o'clock in the morning. So I was a West Point grad, 9 years reserve. But then I said I might as well finish out. So I went back in the Army. I got some really amazing projects because of my background. In politics, believe it or not, engineering and politics. I got into local politics. So I helped set up the government of Afghanistan. But I worked with a bond agreement, some different things. So a lot of background there. That's my background. But I got out, and we have construction and real estate. I was going to go back in that industry, but I fell in love with new media. In 2012, because I'd been gone for 5 years working on a project overseas, and I didn't really have time to see what happened because we were using, closed, secure systems.
Yeah, you're in a little box, and then all of a sudden you come outside. It's like, whoa, everything is different.
I'm not a PhD, but I supervised PhDs. In fact, one grade above them, and worked between the State Department, governments, and military. It gets complicated. But in France, I worked with France a lot. But anyway, driving on. I'm trying to figure out a new business, and I think there's a need, and you touched on this a little bit, I'm recording. There's a need right now for the older business guy. Maybe the 35 and younger's got it, but the people 35, 40, 50, the older you get, is they don't know how to use the new media, the new website, the connections. So I'm trying to build a product where I teach them, like, here's a simple website, get to know it, get to understand it. In fact, we're going to set it up for you. And then you're going to learn, and this is what you're going to do. You're going to study. By the way, I've subscribed to Linda, and I would recommend, here's what we recommend. Now you're up, play with it, get 2 sites, so if you screw up one. And then before you go to start investing money, and it gets expensive, as you know, to develop really some high-end sites, get to understand it better. You said you don't need to understand. So that's the model. But the other thing I want to teach is this Google Plus Hangout. You can do streaming media. There's constantly things that you can teach that help people now. It's free streaming media. So that and podcasting. And I'm trying to build a model to do that right now. It's sort of educational teaching, but it's sort of targeted at that 40-year-old and up who's in business.
Yeah, that's what I didn't say, is that I think the path forward for education in general is to start targeting the education at specific types of people rather than targeting it at specific types of professions. You say, like, if you're type A with an interest in X, then you should take this type of course because that will teach you in a way that you will understand, right? And then if you're type B with, an interest in Y, then you can take this other type of course. And they'll end up in the same place, but they'll be actually teaching it in a way that they can understand. So for business people, you would speak to them in a business type language with, references that have to do with where they come from, with their culture. And you use references and examples that relate to what they do, because that's something they're familiar with. So, if you're talking to a lawyer, you try to use legal examples. If you're talking to someone who builds Zodiac boats, you try to use boat analogies for everything, right? So it's specializing, narrowing in on a specific group and learning their language and then teaching what they need to them is far more valuable than trying to just cover the whole gamut. And I think you can get more out of it. So what you're describing, I'm all for it.
So what would you say to a small, somebody who owns a small painting company, maybe a couple employees, coffee shop owner, different services? What would you say to them? How much WordPress, how much do they need to know, and what do they need to do?
It depends a bit on what their goal is. If the goal of a website is to bring, so there's two entirely different situations, right? So if you say the coffee shop, right? So the goal of the coffee shop website would be twofold. One is to provide information about the coffee shop and the promotions and whatever's going on there. The other one is to build a community around the coffee shop, right? And that means I would slap in, post up things that are happening in the community all the time and get people commenting and get people interacting. I'd connect it to a Facebook page and have people actually actively posting on the Facebook page all the time. Really build. It's like, if you want to know what's going on in the community, you go to that coffee shop website because they know, right? They know that, tomorrow there's some sort of like hootenanny down at the local inn where they're going to do karaoke to, German polka, whatever. Like, really put all the information up there and become a hub that provides information that has nothing to do with what you do. It's just people know that's where you find information.
Sort of like Swill. We have a place called Swill.
Yeah.
Very good. Jonathan, go ahead.
And then for the painter, it would be something completely different. It would be, in this case, you're probably looking for clients who would hire you to paint houses, right? So then you might want to post up information about different types of paint, or, if there's like the bad weather's coming in, this is what might happen to your house if you don't have proper paint. And here's some things you can do to remedy it without hiring a painter. But if the job is too big, we can help you. And try to provide real information to people that is actionable, understandable, practical, and then say, when you need more, come to us.
Like Seth Godin. And I maybe do YouTube clips, simple page to get so how much of a WordPress site do they need? How much do they need to spend on WordPress to get there? How much training?
Oh, God.
The painter. That's a good question, because there's different levels. How much how do they know how much they need?
So let me give you the very practical answer to that. How much is their time worth? How much do they charge per hour for whatever it is they do? Right? And then you have to think, building a website is no different. So they have to invest the same amount of money or equivalent into their website. So if a proper website probably takes about 100 hours to build, right? At $25 an hour, that's $2,500. That's baseline. That is like, you now have a basic website with some content, but it's custom to you.
And you're helping them build content and walking them through the whole process.
And providing training and everything. But that's like, I don't touch anything in that realm at all. Because when I take on projects, it's a massive thing. I will run your business through a reevaluation of what you do, right? Because a website is not just the website. It's the online identity of the company. And the web can do a lot of things beyond just being a catalog, right? And finding what it can do and then honing in on it and actually refining the messages and getting people to understand that the web can be part of the business, not just it's not Yellow Pages, it's something entirely different. And that requires a substantial investment of time, effort, and money to get it to where you need it to be. But then in return, you get something great.
Right. And so where is it going to be next year? And that's the end of my question.
Yeah, well, you have to build it so that it's future-proof.
Yeah, so it's
future-proof. So you basically, one of the great things about open source in general, and this applies to WordPress as well as open source security systems for tower buildings, right? Is that once, if it's built properly the first time, you're not tied to your contractor. So the contractor can step away and you can hire someone else who can come in and look at it and continue building on it. So that means, if you hire me, I build you a website, I will train you on how to use it, and then I will document it in such a way that I can hand it off to you. And then when you need to update it, you can come back to me and say, I want to update, or you can go somewhere else. And then that other person can read the code, figure out what's going on, and extend it without, having to build the whole thing over again.
Right. Very good. Jonathan, anything you want to finish up?
Yeah, just got one last question, Morten, and I think you might be the right guy to give me some insight. Frameworks like Studio Press Genesis or Thesis, are they a sign? I've got nothing against Genesis, and I've been tempted to go down that road. But there's something in me saying, why should I have to learn a frame? Is it a sign that there's something fundamentally wrong with WordPress? Or why have a framework like Genesis become so popular in the development community? What
Great marketing.
You think it's as simple as that, do you?
Yeah.
Genesis is great. Yeah, marketing.
They are great at marketing. Genesis. There's nothing wrong with frameworks. They work fine. You can do things with frameworks that in one way that you can do custom in a different way. In many cases, using a framework allows you to, you have a bunch of new boxes you can throw in if you want to. It's like building, you can buy, some sort of modeling kit, and then it comes with a bunch of pre-built pieces that you can choose to use or mess around with if you want to. Or you can build it yourself. So it provides less work. Some frameworks, like Genesis, are great. Some frameworks, like some legacy frameworks that are still around and still quite popular, are absolutely awful. And when I say absolutely awful, I mean as in, if I come across a website with this, I will actually go out of my way to convince the people to switch out of it, because they're getting trapped in an environment. Like, some of these frameworks are built specifically to trap you in the framework. You understand what I mean? They build new tables for everything. They supplant WordPress functions for their own functions. So if you switch out of the framework, you lose all your content. And they're built around a business model that has nothing to do with open source. It has to do with closing people into a loop they can't get out of. Kind of like the Apple iTunes model, right? And it goes against the entire idea of open source and WordPress. So, for the most part, it's just a choice. You like what Genesis does, you use Genesis. You like what one of the other frameworks does, you just pick that one, or you build it yourself. I'm old geezer in the web world, so I like to build everything from scratch. I don't use grids either, but that's just me. I hate Sass. I think
thank you.
Code compilers are crazy.
Oh, thank you.
But that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with using it. It just means I personally have no need for it, right? I can write proper semantic CSS. I have no problem doing that. Other people like to write short code CSS and then get Sass to compile it. I see the value in it. I just don't use it myself. Because I like to be like, when I write my CSS, it needs to look a certain way. It needs to be super clean. I really am meticulous about how it comes out. I can't control it to that level with Sass. Right? It's that simple.
So you don't see when it comes to a framework like Genesis, you don't see a problem with it, but you think it's a marketing. It does do no damage, but it's also it is what it is basically.
I don't think frameworks with good intentions I don't have a problem with. I have a much bigger problem with some of the theme foundries that sell terrible themes at some sort of random price and basically push the quality of the overall availability of WordPress themes down, and are more concerned about making money than actually providing good content, right? I'm not the only one that's saying this either. I mean, Matt Mullenweg had a huge battle with one of the theme foundries last year for the exact same reason, that there's, if you're in an open source environment, you need to kind of accept the open source philosophy, which is you do it for open source reasons. If you start trying to build a commodified business model on top of open source, you're going against the principle of open source itself, which is that it's not commodified, right? You're not selling the product, you are selling the service of building the product. So if you are selling the same thing over and over again, you're essentially, because of the GPL and all, like, it's very technical. Because of the GPL, everything that you produce for WordPress is technically free, because I could buy it off you and then just redistribute it for free, and you couldn't do anything about it, right? So technically, nothing you produce for WordPress has actual commodified value in and of itself, because it can be obtained for free and you can't do anything about that, right? That's the difference between a WordPress theme and, let's say, something that was built for movable type, is that you can actually charge for the movable type theme and go after people who distribute it. Whereas in WordPress, it's explicitly specified that once you have it, you are allowed to modify it, change it, and redistribute it in any way you want, right? So then if you try to build a commodified business on top of it, you're going against the very nature of the product itself. And that's what the theme foundries do, which makes no sense. You're selling the service of building it, not the product itself.
Great. Wow. What can I say about our little chat? It's been mind-bending.
We lost Bill.
Saturday the 22nd. Yeah. You ever see the movie There Will Be Blood?
Oh, yeah. It's fantastic.
I have not seen it yet, because it got off Netflix in Canada before I got to see it.
It's sort of true. It's an evolution of 3 different oil barons in the early California days, and that's where I'm from, that area.
Yeah.
Those parts of the country. And it says at the end, the guy says, "I'm done."
Well,
you have to watch the movie. I'm done.
That's you right now.
Yeah, we're done.
I'm done.
We're done. It's been a fantastic interview.
No, it was good. It was good. We look forward to 22nd. Hey, this should be a pretty lively Google Plus Hangout on the 22nd.
Who else is coming?
A lot of folks. I can pull them up.
We got Born from Born Designs.
Yep.
Not his wife, but we got him, and we got Adam Silver. He's a bit of a character. And
LA WordPress meetup. He's got a lot of folks down there. You've played him.
And all of them.
Flynn, Late, John Locke, John.
Oh yeah, Flynn is coming.
Who? Sorry?
I was talking
Flynn
to him yesterday.
Flynn O'Connor.
Yeah. He's here. We talk all the time.
Yeah, Flynn's going to be part of it.
Yeah.
They're all organisers of WordPress meetups.
Okay.
And so I thought, God, they should have something to say. And,
it'll be an interesting discussion this time. Last one was very interesting. I'll just step back and watch. I sort of modulate the system. It'll be good.
Yeah,
it'll be cool.
Yeah, we've had some good discussions. I'm getting better.
I'll be there.
We're working out the craziness of
8 a.m. 8 a.m. Don't dance too much Friday night.
I dance on Saturday night.
Okay.
So 2 a.m.
We're working out the madness of Google Hangout. This is quite interesting.
I've been using Google Hangout to do live streaming from when somebody has a meeting or something. It's pretty amazing what you can do with it.
I started doing that too, because it unfortunately relies on a really good upstream connection. Otherwise, it just falls apart. But as long as you have that connection, it's really amazing that you can live stream anything and it costs you nothing to do.
And anybody could have a class lesson or anything. You want to go watch it or.
I just have a wireless lav for my video kit, and I just clip the lav on whoever's talking, and then I get them to log into the Hangout with their computer and screen share their computer, and then I just mute their computer so that when they talk, I can switch between the video of the person or their screen share, and then it's like magic. You know, the equipment you would need to do this in the old days is just like you would need a $6,000 mux just to get the video off the screen. Right now, it's like click, done. Yeah, I'll just sit here.
And it's getting better interface, easier and easier all the time.
Yeah, it's going to be a great discussion, and I look forward to speaking to you on Saturday morning. You've been a fantastic guest. I really enjoyed our chat.
I did too.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for having me.
Very good. See you Saturday.
All right. See you.
Bye.